So with that, it's time for our keynote address. And for this, I'm really delighted to welcome someone I've known for, I think, more than 20 years now. I think it's more than 20 years. I think we first met in 2003, if my, sorry. 2003. And his name is Chandran Nair. He's a CEO of Universal Vapor Jet Corporation, a newly formed subsidiary of OLED technology pioneer Universal Display Corporation. At UVJC, he leads the company to enable dry and pattern printing for next generation manufacturing. Now, many like me will know Chandran from his long and successful stint as the regional head of National Instruments. And more recently, before joining UVJC, he was president and CEO of semiconductor equipment manufacturer AEM Holdings. So, to give his keynote address, From Automation to Intelligence, the Role of AI in the Future of Manufacturing, let me welcome Chandran Nair to kick off the ARC Industry Leadership Forum Singapore 2025. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob knows me for over 20 years. I didn't have hair then, and I don't have hair now. So some things change and some things don't. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's really nice to be here, especially during the time of so much transformation and change. Transformation in technology, transformation, I wouldn't say transformation, change in geopolitics, right? Transformation typically has a great positive spin. With the geopolitics, I don't know if it's positive, negative, flat, left, right, but we'll see as time goes by. So when Bob called me to give this talk, I was thinking about what do I talk about AI in manufacturing, right? How does it impact us and so on? And that's when I really put some thought into it and thought about, okay, there's so much talk about AI. There is all the way from it can change everything, including solve our climate problems and help human beings, all the way to it's going to take over the planet and basically make us obsolete, right? So you have this whole spectrum of extremely optimistic view to an extremely pessimistic view. So my view on this today is really a pragmatic, more optimistic view of AI. And so I wanted to level set that because I know everybody will come with different opinions, and rightfully so. And ahead of time, letting you know, I'm going to talk about where we are, how AI is adopted sometimes in many ways that you may not even realize, and where I think it'll go towards what we call the fifth industrial revolution. So today I want to talk about a fundamental shift in manufacturing, the shift from automation to intelligence, why it matters now more than ever, right? So to understand where we are, it's really good to see where we've come from, and to see where we're heading is what this conversation is mostly going to be about. So each industrial revolution was not just about new technology, right? It was reshaping how we work, what we value, and how economies compete. The first industrial revolution, starting in the kind of late 18th century, was really catalyzed by the invention of the steam engine, textile machinery, and the like. So this, in turn, really triggered, for the first time in human history, the mechanization of labor, shifting production from handcraft to machine-driven processes. Right? So that's kind of where we came from. And this, in turn, had the impact of influencing the way people lived. It started a large migration of the rural population into urban industrial cities, right? So it had a lot of implication to how society moved forward. And then as you move forward in the second industrial revolution that started around the late 19th century, right, 1870s and so on, during this period, it was the period where electricity, steel, telegraph, it kind of started being propagated into our daily lives. These were not just inventions, but they were really engines of transformation, right? And we went through the middle of the 20th century all the way with what we now recognize as the second industrial revolution. So what changed? During that time, for start, mass production became the norm. Factories could now churn standardized goods at a scale that was unheard of before. It was also the birth of the modern corporation, the first instances of MNCs, other than the East India Company that was a mixture of a corporation, an army, and whatever else. But it was the first instances of what we recognize of today as multinational companies. It really started transcending borders, even though in those days there were tariffs that are coming back now. Even in those days there was colonization, right? But it started transcending the borders. And then we go into the third industrial revolution, starting in the late 20th century, all the way to 2000 or so. This is when the world started getting digital. The third industrial revolution brought electronics, brought computers, and automation into manufacturing. And that started changing everything, right? So there are a few of us who are in our 50s or more and had seen those changes. Many of you weren't. So some of it may sound like history, but many of us have lived through that history. And then suddenly the factories had programmable logic controllers. They had CNC machines. They had robots starting to do repetitive tasks. You had IT systems coming into play. And that is when things like Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, these started becoming the golden standards for production. Right? It also triggered a major shift in global supply chains. That is when companies started looking at areas where they could manufacture at a lower cost. Supply chains started developing around China and Southeast Asia and the like. Right? So there were some fundamental changes in society that we see today and we live in today. And from a technology point of view, this is really when intelligence, or the first instance of machine intelligence, entered the factories. But it was very much rule-based and pre-programmed. Right? So the CNC machines, the PLCs, all that many of us work with every day, they were pre-programmed and rules-based, and that kind of started becoming mainstream. Now, 2000 on, we are in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution. Some people say middle of, some people say end of the fourth industrial revolution, take your pick, but we are in the fourth industrial revolution where we have IoT, the Internet of Things, where we have cyber-physical systems, advanced robotics, and the works. So what's next, right? And this is where I'm going to spend a little bit of time on looking at what's next and the emergence of the fifth industrial revolution, what it is, what it means to manufacturing, and in some cases to the broader society at large. Now, let's take a moment to see what are the shifts we are seeing as we move in manufacturing and seeing going from traditional automation of tasks to autonomy in decision making, right? So that is kind of where we are today with the adoption of AI. AI has been adopted, has already started playing not only in our daily lives, but also in manufacturing tremendously, right? In supply chain, in predictive maintenance, and so on. So when we take a look at this, some of the ones that many of us with a technical background or a manufacturing background are well in the middle of, predictive maintenance is a great example. There is so much data and sensors for almost everything that feeds into the systems, right? In the old days, predictive maintenance looked at the past, looked at past vibrational signatures, power consumption, etc., and could kind of look at the past and tell you what may be wrong with the machine. But now, it's actively learning, right? It's not just pre-programmed, it's actively learning and being able to kind of give situational awareness and able to tell this machine requires unscheduled repairs because of. And these are the kind of things you could do, right? In process optimization, there we see where AI really shines. Imagine a system that can tweak machine settings like temperature, pressure, speed in real time and based on live real-time data being fed in, right? So what this means is that AI boosts the yields. It reduces waste, right? It cuts energy use. All these are already happening. It's not something in the future. It's already happening. Now it's a question of adoption. So visual inspection, we've been talking about visual inspection for years, right? The automated AOI and so on. But now for the first time, we are having, it's happening, we're having learning-based AOI systems that continuously learn. The more it samples, the more it learns. And the more accurate it becomes and starts being able to detect new kinds of defects that it never could before. And all these are already in works happening in companies. I'm not mentioning company names because then that is like advertising, but there are companies that are already providing this service the software as a service there. Supply chain forecasting, the old days of just looking at old SAP and Oracle systems, ERP systems, has gone. In most companies that have tremendous amounts of manufacturing output for all sorts of devices that we use every day, the forecasting systems don't just look at past trends. They look at weather, they look at logistic trends, they look at, of course, the level of inventory that was there in the past too, right? They look at trends, they look at upcoming events, and then they are able to guide the procurement people in terms of what to look out for. Right? And this is also happening. It's not something in the future. And those of you in supply chain with companies have probably already seen that. And finally, the most exciting is the digital twin, the ability to create a virtual manifestation of your physical machine or system or process, right? And that's been there for some time. But what's new, what's happening now is having learning algorithms that can take these, can start simulating possible scenarios and guiding you on what these changes could mean if you need to increase output, you need to reduce material, you need to look at cost. And these are live assistants, just like on an everyday basis, I do use Copilot and ChatGPT and others. In manufacturing already, in the supply chain, in companies that are progressive, you already see these Copilots, if you like, right? So the question now is, why is the shift happening? What's happening that is allowing all this to happen? Why did it not happen before? The first one is the obvious one, data availability. Right? You see data everywhere, every kind of sensor, the IoT sensors. So now you're able to take in data, or rather systems in the past still had a lot of this data, but they were in silos. Now we have systems that are able to integrate these, the different kinds of data, put them together, make very intelligent information and predictions based on this, and guidance based on this. Computational power, not talking about it, the NVIDIAs of the world are ruling the world in terms of business, right? There is so much computational power, and computational power is in the cloud. For the first time, AI is being democratized. How many of you use AI, whether it's for manufacturing or otherwise? How many of you use AI? Right? Almost on a daily basis, at least 5-7 times. I use it from things like simple emails all the way to help me think through complex issues, right? So it is everywhere, and having the cloud-based and edge-based AI allows accessibility to almost everybody. You can have free AI, you can have paid for AI. I pay for it now simply because it saves so much time. It's worth paying for it for me personally, right? And then, of course, we have cost pressures and customization. In the old days, you could create the same product line, the SKUs could remain same. Now, the need for customization has increased. SKU sizes sometimes are smaller, and the ability to have quick changeovers on the manufacturing line, reducing the downtime, these kind of constraints and the constraints of cost are increasing. And AI has already started helping putting some of these models in place that can give supply chain managers and factory managers insight into what they can do, right? And then finally, the work constraints and sustainability mandates. Now, when it comes to work constraints, there is a shortage of people with the skills that we need to be able to work with AI, right? And that needs to be addressed in one form or the other. The skills crunch is a global issue, right? But if you think about also not just about how you use AI, there are some old timers like me and some of you in the room who know stuff, who just know things, right? How do you institutionalize that? Once we retire, does it go away from the organization? A very simple example that I given a long time ago was there was the cement mixing company that used to wait on an old man listening to the chamber to kind of understand the consistency of churn before stopping the machine, right? How do you institutionalize that? How do you put learning systems in to understand what are the vibrational signatures that one just knows through experience that can cause issues in a piece of equipment, right? So AI is now helping learn systems that are there in our institutional knowledge. And then if we are smart, and I'm thinking that most of us in this room, I hope all of us in this room are leaders of one form or the other, are able to then help coach AI in the right way to help our workforce. And finally, sustainability is no more a buzzword. I mean, it doesn't matter what the current politicians around the world or in some parts of the world may say that there's no climate change and drill, baby, drill, and use all the resources that are there. The fact is, it is a finite world. The fact is, we have finite amount of resources, and we have to be smart about how we use it, right? And this technology can help us optimize material use in different areas, and to make sure that we are, or can make sure that if we choose to, we are being responsible to the future generations, right? So the bottom line for sustainability is that it's our responsibility of how we use AI to be more sustainable. So where we are is a rare moment of alignment with mountains of real data, powerful compute, and business pressures to be faster and more agile, all coming together with the AI technology advancing and us being able to use that effectively. So has AI adoption happened uniformly around the world? It's not, right? There is a global need for AI, almost everybody, there is a global tsunami of AI that everybody recognizes. There is a global need for AI that everybody understands, right? How is it being integrated into our systems is the common question, whether you live in the US, whether you live in China, whether you live in India, in Singapore, that how do you integrate with old systems is still a question, right? But the rate of adoption in the different geographies is very, very different. So in Asia, if you look at China, Singapore, even India now, Korea, you see that a lot of AI infrastructure is being put into place, a lot of resources are being pumped into AI, and in many of our factories, you have AI already in them, right? Now, Asia has the luxury and the mindset that many of our factories are newer, and so we are able to implement the latest technologies. We are more ready for that. Also, it is about survivability. To be competitive, we have to have the latest, and typically in advanced manufacturing, Asia has done well. In the US, it still follows the kind of Industry 4.0, the German model of, in Europe, it still follows the Industry 4.0 kind of model, where automation is fairly advanced. AI is just being adopted in many instances. There are companies that have gone out there and done great work, but if you look at a generic approach, a generic statement. And then US is seeing AI-led innovation at the enterprise level, not so much in the manufacturing level, right? You have great AI tools in the US being developed to look at large amounts of data being put to good use, to be able to give insights and so on. But on the manufacturing, it's just starting and may probably progress at hopefully a faster rate the way the world is changing. And then there's this very, very interesting area of the developing countries, and they are in the stage of leapfrogging. They're not burdened by past investments, right? And just like in the telecommunications, they went without going through landlines into mobile phones. Same thing, as they set up factories, they know they need the latest and the greatest, and are going towards the adoption of AI. Right? So you see this, the global nuances are different, and they play out based on sometimes on politics, and sometimes on the realities, and sometimes on a mixture of both. Right? But one of the things that is common is integration, and it's about people. Right? And that is what I want to talk about next, is about really the human factor in AI. So we've talked a lot about AI, the technology, the data, the compute power, the global trends, etc. But there's one piece that often gets overlooked, and that's us, the people. Because while AI may change how factories work and operate, the real transformation is still cultural. That is still, for now, cultural is still very much based on us, humans. And every model, every algorithm, every smart system, right, we're still asking people to trust it. We are looking at, will people trust working alongside robots, right? If you're an operator with 15, 20 years of work experience, why should I take an AI-guided instruction? I know better. I've been doing it this way. If you're an engineer, oh, this is a black box. I don't know how it is making this decision. I don't trust it. I have learned my calculus and my differential equations, how to solve them, and it's methodical, and I know how to do it. But there's this black box telling me, sometimes out of empirical data, what to do, because it's not pre-programmed and rules-based like the past computational systems, right? I don't trust it. It may be giving me wrong advice. It may be hallucinating, right? So how do we, first of all, get our AI systems to be better, and how do we get people, you, me, and others, to trust it? So that's why in AI, explainability matters. The ability to explain the output is extremely important. It's just not enough to say, it's a black box, just trust it, right? I mean, human history has shown that 80% of the people will just trust stuff that a person or system of authority says, and that's why we have, where we are. But we still need the 20% of the population who will rightfully ask those questions and need to be explained, right? And it needs to be explained. So explainability for the successful adoption of AI is crucial, especially on the manufacturing floor, but across the board, irrespective of whether it's manufacturing or not. So in manufacturing, it's about augmentation and not replacement. So there's a lot of fear. AI is coming to take my job, but there's a reality. AI isn't here to just replace you. It's really, if you're smart, to support us, right? To be able to focus on tasks where we can maximize our value. But in order for us to maximize our value, we have to be able to reskill, and that's where people like us who are in positions to influence organizations have to understand that adoption of technology comes with a big responsibility of committing time and money to reskill up our people. And if you don't do that, you're actually not fulfilling your potential to get the most out of your organization, and not doing your responsibility towards how to move manufacturing processes and in general larger towards a greater good, right? So let's look at the implications for the future as we talk through all these things. AI is no longer emerging, it's operational, right? Now it is about operational at scale. So to be honest, AI is not a futuristic buzzword, it's already in our workflows. So when you look at the future, we see AI models giving us the agility to do mass customization at scale. Currently, it's almost difficult, almost impossible to do mass customization at scale. We are able to get individualized products. The way manufacturing can potentially happen in this tariff-centric and technology-centric world, the ability to distribute manufacturing may be more real the ability to do additive manufacturing in ways that were only talked about in the past is becoming much more real. So things like decentralized production to be able to maximize profits, because we are all finally in business, right? To maximize profits, we'll have to look at how we can decentralize, as opposed to me growing up, and many of us here in this room growing up in a highly globalized, highly efficient world, has to look at how we can decentralize to be able to maximize our output, to be able to address different markets. And AI can help us through those. New business models will clearly emerge, right? And there's no doubt about it. Some of it are already being formulated. Some of it will be formulated in 5-10 years. But the fact that AI, plus the geopolitics of this changing world and the move towards anti-globalization that will last probably at least 15-20 years, right? It's not a 3-year term for these sentiments to change. AI can equip us how to manage our systems and our technology better. And finally, on resilience and redundancy, we have seen changes in geopolitics. We have seen the pandemic. We know that the world is not predictable, right? We've always known it, and now it is hitting us right smack in the middle of it, right? So the unpredictability of the politics of of our situation today, we need to be able to drive simulations in a intelligent way to do scenario planning, so that we as organizations understand how to deploy our resources best. So the future, the implications of the future, if we choose for it to be, can be very good. And the reason I keep saying if we choose is because, like all technologies, there is the ability to go rogue. And that is a choice that we collectively make. So having said all this, and having started my presentation with the where we are going, really the fifth industrial revolution is emerging. It is a human-centric focused revolution, if we choose for it to be, right? Synergy between man and machine. We see an increased research and use of cobots, right? The fifth industrial revolution, as people talk about it, really look at workplace where human and advanced technologies work together, right? And a lot of the resources are about how do we use less to get more? How do we use less material? So just in an example, some of you know me from the past, and I have worked across different industries. What I'm doing now most passionately, and the reason I took it up, even though I was officially retired last year, I came back into work was because the technologies that the company that I work with, Universal Vaporjet Corporation, is we are using AI for the parent company is using AI to look at how we can design new molecules that will help us, right? 2 is we're designing machines how we can reduce the usage of those molecules that we invent and other people invent, right? Because again, everything is finite, and we want to make sure that we use those finite resources that we are born into in a way that future generations can also use. So sustainability could well be a focus, irrespective of a 2-3 year term where there'll be people saying sustainability doesn't matter, but in the long term, it does matter, and we know it, irrespective of whether it's popular in today's politics or not, right? So as I close, I would like us to hold ourselves accountable as technologists, as strategists, as leaders, to really, if you're a technologist, push for explainable, trustworthy AI, right? That we can do, right? We don't have to wait on what others do. That we can do as technologists. If you are a strategist, build for agility and not just efficiency, because we are in a very, very fast-changing world, more so than ever before. And if you're a leader, you cannot fear the adoption of technology. You have to shape it, right? So you have to choose to shape it in a way that makes sense for you, for your company, but most importantly, for all of us as a society. So on that note, thank you very much.